So the Los Angeles Chargers ended up making 9 draft selections, and I think this is the deepest the team has been since I started covering them in the Justin Herbert era. Last season, Los Angeles had one reliable weapon, and that was Lad McConkey, obviously. You could argue that Will Disley ended up becoming reliable, especially late in the season. But in terms of the receiving position, yeah, Quentin Johnson was good down in the red zone, right? He caught some touchdowns, but he dealt with a lot of drops and he struggled to separate. So the Chargers, what do? They go out there and they get Trey Harris, who isn't the best athlete in the world. Good size, though, great hands, does not drop the ball. They also go out there and they trade up for a tight end who actually is a converted wide receiver. You talk to some people in the NFL world, they'll tell you he's not really a true tight end. Before Los Angeles, they already have a possession tight end in Tyler Conklin. Of course, they've got a blocking tight end in Will Disley. And then they've got now their vertical threat up the seam tight end, of course, in Arande Gadsden II. I think he's going to be a big-time weapon for this Chargers team. Amarion Hampton, we're going to get into him in a couple of seconds here. I called him Amarion Miller in my last video. I apologize about that. I'm a Buffs fan, so every time I hear the name Amarion and I think of a weapon, I just immediately turn to him. Really good freshman season, but for Hampton, who you guys care about, obviously, as Charger fans, I think this was just the selection where the Chargers went out there and took the best player on the board. I did say in my video before the draft that the Chargers probably would take a running back high, but I didn't think it'd be in the first round unless Jetney fell there. I thought it would be in the second, but they take him. Stan Pat, of course, at number 22 overall. Very, very good value, just given the fact of what he's going to bring to the table of blocking, catching the football, making one cut, and going the length of the football field. Just a very overall balanced running back. I'm not sure if there's one thing he does amazingly, but he does everything very good. And that's what the Chargers need, is just stability next to Najee Harris, someone who can handle a 3-down workload. He's going to make a huge impact for the team right away. I just love what the Chargers are doing. I will say, I would have loved to see the Chargers take a guard versus, hey, look, let's take a receiver in the second round. And then looking at the 5th round, they take another receiver. And then you look at the 5th round again, they end up 7 picks later taking a tight end who's basically a receiver, of course, like literally a former transitioned receiver to tight end. So there's a lot of weapons, but to me that's just betting on Justin Herbert, saying that if we get you the right amount of weapons, you can lead us to the promised land. And for those of you that haven't been watching me for a while, the reason why I made this channel is because of Justin Herbert, and I've got a lot of faith and belief in him, even though he hasn't won a playoff game, even though he played very poorly against the Texans. I have no reason not to believe in Justin Herbert because I see that talent every single day covering this channel. And of course, the Chargers are banking on his ability to be able to elevate this team now with more weapons around him, which is great. And the Chargers, it's not like they just ignored defense as well. They did go out there and they took a defensive tackle in the 3rd round in Jamar Caldwell, who's just a big body who's going to end up going out there and clogging lanes. They took an edge rusher with their next pick in Kyle Kennard, former Georgia Tech transfer, right? Had some big games at South Carolina, showed up when it mattered as well, playing in, of course, the SEC. That's a good pick. And then they took Keandre Lambert-Smith, their next pick, who is just a field stretcher. He's not going to give you much else outside of that, but that's so important in today's NFL. Of course, Mike Williams and Trey Harris, those are going to be the one-on-one sort of vertical go ball type of guys. Lad McConkey is going to work out of the slot, and now you've got your field stretcher. And the Chargers just kept pouring it on. They took a tight end, and they're 7 picks later, and then they took an offensive tackle, 6th round pick 199, and Branson Taylor. And probably the best pick the Chargers made was in the 6th round, taking RJ Minkins, of course, because you just have to understand that this was a very good safety class. And the fact they got really, I'll even go as far as saying one of the better safety prospects in the class in the 6th round. I mean, that's good value, man. It's incredible value. I think that was my favorite pick of the draft. I think Minkins is going to be very good. And then they did take Trequenzi Bridges in the 7th round. It's kind of like the opposite of Minkins, is like, how was he there? And then it's like, oh, how did Bridges even get drafted? But hey, hopefully he proves me wrong. I hope he does prove me wrong. I want to come back at this video and see him be a Pro Bowl stud. And I'm like, how did he get drafted? I really hope that's the case, man. That would be absolutely legendary. And I'm not saying that he's like bad by any means. I mean, the dude was in the NFL draft. Like, that's more than I could ever say. but it's just he didn't really play a lot at Florida. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. So hopefully nobody twists my words. I blame the meds that I'm on right now, man. Trying to get through this video, guys. Get you as much Chargers content as I can. A lot of people that aren't Charger fans aren't going to appreciate this draft, and they're probably just going to be like, oh, it's a solid draft, whatever. It's the Chargers. I think this was actually a really good draft for Los Angeles, and I expect them to be a much better team because of it. And even though the Chargers drafted, right, they added a bunch of new players, we all know that Hortez is going to go out there and continue to add in pieces like he did, of course, last season. I mean, you look at the weapons that the Chargers continue to add in. Not that they were the biggest names in the world, but even like Taylor Heineke was picked up in August, right? Backup quarterback. So they just kept adding and adding in May, June, July, August, and I expect that to be the same. But overall, you look at the class that Los Angeles put together. A lot of guys that are going to be ready to play right away, that are going to make impacts. Potential absolute superstar in Amarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Trey Harris, just given the fact that the Chargers got Ladd McConkey in the second round, who was a much better prospect than Harris, just because Ladd McConkey should not have gone in the second round, to be honest with you. But Harris, man, look at what they did last year. I mean, I like it too. Kennard, I think he's ready to play right away. Jamari Caldwell is ready to play right away because of his size, strength, and just overall ability. And then as well, I mean, there's really the entire, I would say, like, I think Taylor is going to be more of a developmental guy. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be moving into guard. I haven't actually looked at anything for the Chargers. I probably should have before I made this. But I think Minkin's legit is going to have a very good camp and compete for a starting spot somewhere on the field. So that really is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gadsden is just going to be more so of a certain package or whatever the down is type of guy, but he's still going to be able to make an impact. So, I mean, really, that's almost just about everyone that's going to be able to play right away and help. And that's what the Chargers need because they're in a tough division. I mean, this is one of the most difficult divisions in football, playing against the Broncos and the Chiefs twice a year. The Raiders are much more improved. They're going to have Geno Smith and Ashton Jenney and a couple of guys on the defensive side of the football. Max Crosby is always going to be a problem. So, and Raiders and Chargers games seem to be very competitive more often than not, to be honest with you guys. I'll never forget what the hell happened, of course. That game that was like a 50-point deficit, of course, 2 seasons ago. That was absolutely ludicrous. The Chargers just, didn't come to play. But Justin Herbert wasn't out there, obviously. And so that was kind of that. But yeah, I mean, I would probably give this draft a B+. It's going to be hard for me to give a team an A in a draft. It's very, very rare. Just because these guys, it literally was a couple of days ago. But just on paper, in terms of impact, I think this is a good draft, man. I mean, I feel great about the Chargers. I don't think they had necessarily the best free agency, but they made up for it with a great draft. And it'll be interesting to see how these guys are developed. But you also have to account for Jim Harbaugh being the coach. So a draft class that to some teams would be a C is going to be a B+ for the Chargers just because of his ability to develop defensive players, especially defensive players, but just any player in general. So, but yeah, guys, I'm out. Peace.